It's a damp morning here in the mountains of southern Appalachia. We've had a lot of rain over the last few days. We've been having evening thunderstorms. That's pretty typical for the area that we live in. And these days of rain every evening really make you realize that we do live in a temperate rainforest for sure. And then you can see the massive growth that rain really helps every summer. Every summer is a reason for the massive amount of growth. I was really looking forward to, though, I thought that it was going to be clear and bright and sunny this morning, and it's not clear. The sun is trying to come out, but I think rain's scheduled for the rest of the day too. But I was really looking forward to getting out in the garden. I wanted to do some weeding, maybe tackle my flowers that have got so overgrown. And then I thought, well, when I heard it raining last night, I'm not going to be able to do that. But when I look at the weather forecast for the rest of the week, it's pretty much for the next 7 or 8 days we're going to have rain. So I'm thinking I'm just going to do it anyway. I don't know how much of the weeding in the flowers I can do, but maybe I can do some weeding just in the big garden. And then the main thing I want to do, the first thing I'm going to do this morning, Corie's here, so she's going to be helping me, is I'm going to go down at Granny's and look at her garden. It's just not doing good at all. So I've got 2 or 3 different fertilizers we're going to take down there. Even though it doesn't need watering, we may put some of the fish fertilizer out. I've got some other granular fertilizer. We might do that and just check on it and see if there's anything we can do to help it. She's also got some mulch that we got her last year that's down there. I'm thinking we might get some of that, even though it is really wet, and put it around the plants, and maybe that'll help some. Just kind of a last-ditch effort to help Granny's garden. Before I head down to Granny's, I was picking some little Tommy toes to take her, since her garden's not doing very well. Let's see if there's any up on the bank, Corie. So these are me and Corie are thinking they're ripe. I've already tasted one, so I'm gonna let Corie taste it, and I'm not gonna tell her my opinion and see what she says.
This is exciting. These are the ones that are called the blue cream berries. Are they good?
Taste it and see. You like it?
I do.
Yeah.
Did you?
No.
No?
I just didn't think it had much of a tomato flavor. But I only ate one.
Can I eat this other one?
Yeah.
I've already picked it, really.
Yeah. So you think they're a winner?
I like them.
So this is the other blueberry variety that we were growing. You can see how they've went from being blue to changing. So I'm going to taste one of those and see what I think about them.
What do you think?
More of a tomato flavor than the others, for sure.
Cool. Oh, this is so fun, Mom.
It's funny how they start out as that blue and then they turn red.
Blue.
So that's what somebody told us, they'll turn red. And we thought that they just meant the bottom part.
But you can see that they are, I mean, they still have a hint of that blue.
Of the blue, yeah. Well, we'll see what Granny thinks about them. So this is Granny's little garden behind me. A little bit of it over here too. But you can clearly see the cattle panels have nothing on them, whereas up at my house, the beans have already made it all the way to the top of the panel. And we know that her soil is not as good as ours. We've been trying to improve it year after year, just like we did ours, but it takes a long time. So we know that. It never does as good as our garden does, but this year it's just extra, as Pap would say, bad. It's just not doing, it's just terrible. It's just doing awful. So Corie and I brought some fertilizer down here. We brought some fish emulsion we're going to water, even though it don't really need to be watered. Maybe water some of those beans with it, and put some fertilizer, dress it with fertilizer, see if that does any good. As I look over on the other part, the only thing that is kind of doing good, but it's took over with weeds, is her peas. They're not doing as good as ours, but they look a whole lot better than the beans. Interestingly, the thing that's doing the best in Granny's garden is this right here, and she rigged this up herself. This is over her old clothesline. She's put those little planters there, planted them full of beans, wrapped that yarn around the clothesline, let it hang down so the beans could climb up those, and those look way better than anything else. And they were planted several weeks after we planted the ones in the garden. So maybe Granny's just got the magic touch. Well, hopefully what we did will help Granny's garden some. We put out some fertilizer alongside, just kind of side dressed everything. And it was a fertilizer that was just come in a bag from Walmart. It said on it that it was for tomatoes and other vegetables. And usually if we don't really use fertilizer, especially at mine and Matt's house, we don't, because we use compost. We dress everything with compost from our chickens and the mushroom compost, so we really don't need to. But if we do, sometimes we would fertilize the beans, is what we'd fertilize. And we usually use like a 10-10-10, something like that. Pap always side dressed his stuff like that. So hopefully that'll help Granny's garden some. And then we also mixed up some fish emulsion. I had a bottle of it and we watered it with that. Pretty stinky, wasn't it, Corie?
Super stinky.
Pretty stinky. But another reason I'm glad we used it was the peas. I said they looked the best of anything. Once we got over there close to them and started putting the fertilizer on them, you can see they've been nipped off the tops of them. Not all of them, but some of them. So I don't know if that was a rabbit or a deer boy. Maybe, but maybe that fish emulsion, because it's very, very stinky. If you've ever used it, maybe it will deter whatever was eating on them. So we give it a lick and a promise, and maybe that'll help. I hope so.
Yeah.
And Granny hopes so too. We went in and had some dinner. Now we got refreshed. We've come back out. The rain is holding off so far, so maybe we'll get a little bit done. Since I opened that bag of the fertilizer I used down at Granny's, I think I'm going to just get rid of the rest of it, and I'm going to use it on my squash and zucchini because they look so small. Maybe that'll give them a little boost too. They are coming along though, and even have grown since I did my last gardening video. The winter squash is doing what it usually does, kind of taking over the whole bed down through here. And then I hope with Corie's help, she's going to help me the rest of the day. We can just kind of go from the very back there where we pulled up the tomatoes that were doing so bad, and then come all the way down through here weeding, and then we'll have all that weeded. While Corie and I have been weeding, we've been seeing all kinds of bugs and creatures of the summer. Here's a beautiful grasshopper hanging out on my kale. He may have been eating it if you look at these other leaves over here.
He probably was. Yeah, he's eating it right now. I can see
You
it.
can see his little mouth moving.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Cool, but weird.
When I was a girl, we would catch grasshoppers and feed them blades of grass, and you have to be really gentle, of course, holding them, but they will spit tobacco juice, is what we called it. It looked like they were spitting tobacco juice on you, is this brown stuff. But yes, he's eating my kale.
You're making a good snack out of it.
Even though the sun's not out, it has got so humid. Well, it's out, but it's not bright. You know what I mean? It's got so humid and hot. So I think Corie and I have about done all we're going to do. We've got a lot accomplished, though, so I'm really, really happy. Matt will be, too. Our winter squash is really starting to run now. As you look down through there, you can see on the back side especially. And then as summer goes on, they'll run this way too, and eventually they'll be out in the driveway. And then you have to worry about running over a pumpkin or a big winter squash. Another thing we planted in this area was our watermelons back there in the back that are not doing very good. But it's been so cool. I hope now that the heat has arrived, they will take off too. And one other thing I planted I thought would be really pretty was a bunch of flowers down through here. And I planted them, but what happened is, you can see this channel one of the nights before Miss Cindy died, the day and the night, we got about 6 inches of rain, and this is right where I planted them, so it washed them all the way down through there. There's a lot of weeds there now too, but I did come back after that and replant them. I moved them over, so if that happened again, and you can see they're coming up, so maybe I'll still have a row of flowers. So Corie said for all the hard work, she deserved a popsicle.
That's right.
And I said, yeah, I think we both deserve one.
Only problem is there's no coconut.
Yeah, I'm out of coconut.
Also,
Yeah.
the stick is totally not in the center of this.
No, sorry. Oh, mine's not
Absolutely
either,
not.
really.
I've never had pineapple before. I'm assuming that I will probably like this.
It's good. I've injured myself somehow on the way from down there to up here. So, it's just a little cut, but it's bleeding.
Sorry, bud.
It's alright.
That happens to my cuticles a lot. You can see that bad place right there. That hurts.
I think I hit it on the clipper that I was carrying, the clippers. Pretty good, ain't it?
This could be a new favorite.
So the brand of Popsicles is Outshine. I should try to say that every time because folks ask. They are good. And they're supposed to be a healthier version. You'd have to decide that for yourself, but they're pretty tasty, especially on a hot, humid day like today.
Uh-huh.
We've got limbs all over the yard. I wanted to pick those up, but that didn't happen. And the other thing, Corie, was I wanted to pick the blackberries. They need to be picked terribly.
Yeah.
But that may not happen today either. Maybe after supper. The limbs come from a storm on the day that we had my book signing, me and Jim, in Silva, North Carolina. It rained a little bit on our way back. We stopped in Bryson City to eat supper with friends, and it stormed a little bit while we were eating. We could hear the thunder and stuff, but nothing terrible. But Corie called, I think you called or texted Katie or something, and said it had been bad here.
Yeah. Yeah, it got pretty nasty.
So when we got closer to home, we began to see, for one thing, we followed a giant, our power is Blue Ridge EMC, but Peachtree and on towards Andrews is Duke, and we followed a big truck out at night. It was dark by then with their lights on, and they had transformers on the back, and there was a truck in front of them, so we were like, well, that's not a good sign. So lots of trees down in our area, lots of branches and limbs and things, and even riding through Martins Creek yesterday, I was surprised by how many trees you could see where they'd fallen and people had cut them out of the road. So we missed that event. Corie got to see it though.
Yeah, it was so windy. We had a 5-gallon bucket almost full of concrete that we've got the T-post down in, and it knocked that over. We had just got home and got in the house, and you could tell it was windy, and we hadn't been in the house maybe 2.5 minutes, and the wind was just scary, and then the power went out. And that's probably, maybe in my lifetime, I've only seen the wind get that bad a few times, and that was one of them.
The power had been off here when we got here, but I don't know for how long or anything since we wasn't at home. But the yard is filled with branches, needs to be picked up. And yesterday we noticed, I don't know if a bug just dropped on me or a raindrop. I think it was a bug. At the graveyard, there was lots of the flowers had been blowed over, and we went to look for them. And the pretty saddle that Corie bought that we put on Pap's grave, it's gone. And Steve, my brother, and his wife Kim, and me and Corie and Katie, we all looked. We looked on both sides of the road, down in the grass. It's gone. But that's what a big wind it was.
And that's where me and Austin had come from the night before. We had just left there, and that saddle was there, and we took care of, Miss Cindy's, and I bought something to put there, and it was on a brick, just a little thing set on a brick, and it blew the brick over. I mean, that's how heavy or how crazy the wind was.
So we've been having storms every evening. Yesterday we had one, but there was no wind. It was thunder and rain. And I expect we'll have one today.
Probably.
It's amazing to be out in the garden though and to see how much growth. Now I couldn't resist getting into my flowers a little bit, but there's still so much work to do there. But you're like, how did all this grow? But then I remind myself I've not touched those flowers this spring yet, so that's everything that's all spring long that's been growing. Now summer. But we do get so much rain and that wonderful heat and humidity that Matt loves. He hates it. It just makes things grow unbelievably. Turns into a jungle every year.
True.
So Granny was very happy we got hers. Hopefully that'll help what we did. And we took her the Tommy toes. She's happy about that. She was crocheting some snowflakes today.
Where'd you paper towel from?
Oh, I've still got my one I was using on my hand.
I've got another
I have to
one
get me a
here.
Band-Aid. And the bugs are terrible today. Gnats and stuff. I had one in my eye. Corie had to get out. But Corie has got how many ticks? 3 ticks. Now, I've not seen any ticks on me. They must just be attracted to you.
I've got a bunch on
Yeah.
here this year. More than I ever have.
It does seem like some years are worse than others for ticks and things.
But all the ones that I've seen have been like babies.
The little
like
bitty ones?
pencil lead or smaller. Like in Granny's house down there a little while ago, I had 3 freckles on my leg. And I saw a 4th freckle and I said, I don't think I have a freckle right there. I was like, that freckle is moving. So that's definitely not a freckle. And I was like, what is that? I had to get close and then I straightened out my leg and there was another one and I was like, I don't think so.
I'm not seeing any on me, thank goodness. But
Well,
Corie
theirs
will
is
have
hard to see.
Corie will have to be careful when she goes in and
Yeah. Just watch
really
out.
check good. Make sure she don't find one. Well, at least we made a dent in the work that we've kind of got behind in.
Yeah. I'm still eating this thing. I'm slow. It's cold on my teeth. Can't go too fast.
Yeah, I didn't eat mine.
My teeth are better. Someone sent me some doTERRA toothpaste. And I thank you for that because I bought more and I've been using it and I think it's helping my teeth.
That's good. I think Katie's been using it too, hasn't she?
It's like I just bit into that and it didn't hurt. I mean, usually that would kill my teeth, so it must be helping. That's good.
I hear thunder.
I look like Katie today.
Yeah, you do look like
I
Katie.
mean,
You got your
Katie's
tie-dye.
clothes.
Oh, you got.
Well, this is her
that
clothes,
Okay,
yeah.
I was thinking it was yours. I told Corie I was going to work outside today when she come, but she forgot, so she had her nice clothes on, and I said, I'm sure you can find something Katie's to wear, so.
Yeah, I feel like I look so much like Katie.
Katie's,
But these are her clothes, so.
Katie's working on her truck today, so she's not here with us. So Corie, of course, knew where all her stuff was, went and helped herself. She didn't care. Katie wouldn't care.
It'd be funny if Katie sees me later, she'll be like, that's my clothes? I'll be like, I'm Kate now.
Yeah, I was trying to pretend to be you. They used to do that when they was young, try to pretend to be each other.
We could fool people too.
Yeah. You still fool people. You're not doing it on purpose, but people meet them somewhere in a store or something, and then they'll start talking, like, for example, to Corie, and then Corey's really quickly realizes what they're talking about she knows nothing about, but they obviously think she knows all about it, so then they think she's Katie, or vice versa with Katie.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened. I just have to say, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but you must know my sister. Because or
This-
people say hey to me, I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I don't know who this person is.
Yeah. The life of a twin.
True. Has Dad tried the pineapple?
He has. He likes it. He spits out the pineapple pieces, though. I don't know why he don't just eat them. I don't know. He likes them, though. They are good. Pineapple is.
Interesting thing about this is the pineapple chunks were not cold. Well, I know it sounds weird, the whole thing was frozen, but they were like soft and I liked it.
Yeah, they were. They are soft. They're like chunks of pineapple, but yeah.
I guess he don't like stuff with like pulp in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do, it makes it better. I'm about to try to drink this without making a mess.
Well, let's watch this. Let's see how this goes, everyone.
Can I, you think?
Oh, she did it. I figured it'd pour out all down your shirt.
Mmm.
Remember those pop ice things when you're a kid and you push them up?
Mm-hmm.
Those, yeah.
Popsicles.
Granny used to get them for the girls.
Those were
And
good.
I guess I used to buy them probably too.
Oh, yeah. And then they made...
Makes you think of popsicles and swimming pools and, I mean, not popsicles, I meant to say Bible school and swimming pools, swimming parties and things like that, cookouts and stuff
Absolutely.
for kids, anything with a lot of kids.
And then they made also pudding and yogurt that was in a thing like that. And when I think about that, especially the pudding, I mean, it turns my stomach. I can't. That was a snack that they had when we were like in 3rd grade. And I mean, I can think about that too much and I might actually throw up.
Gosh.
There's just something about it just grosses me out.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever ate pudding, or I've seen those. They didn't have them when y'all were little, but since then I've seen for little kids those push-up like applesauce and stuff
Yeah,
and the things.
yeah, just where they can kind of
push them out themselves.
Well, the pudding
Keeps them from being, I guess, making a mess if you're on
Right.
the car or out in public somewhere or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only kind of pudding really that I ever eat is if I make it.
Some butterscotch
And that's
pudding.
that's
wouldn't that be
good. Homemade is good.
Chocolate pudding or butterscotch.
Even box pudding is good. It ain't really that good for you. But
Yeah.
pudding that's in the little containers or in a tube
I never liked that.
makes
like
me
those
just want to gag.
little square container things. I never
Ugh.
liked it. No.
Absolutely not.
Couldn't do
Gross.
that either.
No way.
Yeah. Well, it's been a nice day in the garden with Corie, and Granny didn't come outside, but she stood on the porch, so she gets so excited about her garden, and I really love the generational aspect of me and Corie helping her and her still being excited about it. She had some beans that she'd sprouted. She made us take out and replant in her little planters in front of her, right off her porch, right in front of her house, and she's excited about them. I really love that, the generational ties between our family and gardening, and that's really part and parcel of Appalachian culture and heritage. And I know in other places too, but I can always only speak to Appalachia, but it's really, making a garden every year to feed your family is really a huge part of the culture. And then who do you learn from but your elders? Who do you pass it on if you're like me in the middle, your children? So it's kind of a good example of that. I learned all my knowledge. Of course, you're always learning. I've learned stuff, like Pap didn't use raised beds or anything, but I learned everything from Granny and Pap when I was growing up gardening. And then when I started gardening on my own, I called Pap about 80 times a day and asked him stuff. Probably drove him crazy. And then Corie kind of does me like that now.
I do.
Yeah.
How do I plant this? How far apart? How deep?
Yeah. And what do you think about this? What do you think about what this looks like?
Of course, I call you
Have you ever heard of
literally
this?
everything.
Have you ever thought that? Well, I did Daddy too. And I call Granny too, but I mostly called Daddy. He was more receptive to my questions than Granny.
Did she get irritated quick?
You just know Granny. You can't never tell if she's going to tell you or say, or be evasive or...
She is very evasive.
Sometimes.
If I had a word to describe Granny, evasive is a good word.
Sometimes. Depends on what kind of mood
Yeah, it
she's
depends.
in.
Not all the time.
No.
And I don't even think she's not trying to be evasive at all.
It's
She just
Granny. She's
that's just how she is.
kind of eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, though, for visiting with us today. And as always, we hope you will just keep dropping back by often to help us celebrate Appalachia.
Evasive, that's a good word to
You
describe
never
Granny.
know what Granny's going to do.
She's funny.
She's a unique bird, as they would say.
She is. Oh, do the other popsicles, do they have that kind of thick texture?
So a lot of them have the stuff like that in them. Now the coconut just has kind of little harder
But it's
pieces,
like
but
real
coconut
creamy.
is hard. if you find a piece in them. But then strawberry has that pulpiness.
Does it? Okay,
yeah.
I might need to do the strawberry
And,
next time.
Yeah. Excuse me, I think several of them do have the whole pieces. They also, Outshine makes a sugar-free version. I've not tried any of them, but people say they're good too.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So then it would be even healthier if you're trying to avoid
I need
sugar.
to look at that.
Yeah.
Those are good though. Tasty.
I didn't even look at Tim's corn. Did it blow it down? That big wind? I hope not.
I don't know. I don't think I
drove right. I've drove right
Yeah.
past there twice and never even looked. Maybe I'll try to remember to look in a little while
I
when I
don't
go
think
out.
I looked. There's sticks all over our deck. I'm gonna have to sweep.
Well, just look out through there. How many
Yeah,
sticks?
that's how it is.
And there was some pine, like a pine from up there
Katie sent
that
me
had
that.
was like
wove
into the cattle
panels.
panel. I was like, man, that come from a long way up
Yeah.
there, and how it wove in. I don't know if you noticed at the cemetery, there was a bunch of sticks drove straight down in the ground.
There's one like that drove that far in the
Yeah.
ground at my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you,
I'm
it
glad
got,
I missed that wind. I
Yeah.
can't believe Granny wasn't excited about it. But she just told me. She said, "Did it storm on you when you was driving?" I said, "No." She said, "Well," I said, "It stormed here. It looks like," and because we were already home by then. It was the next day, and she said, "Well, it wasn't so much a storm as
Just
a
wind.
wind. Just
yeah,
wind."
it wasn't really a lot of rain or anything. And see, that was right before me and Austin was about to go to Longhorn, and we hadn't had lunch, and it was like 6 o'clock.
And you were starved
I'm
out.
like,
You'd come
well,
unfed.
I guess we're gonna have. I was like, honey, we can't drive in this, and that's kind of before it got real bad. And then I thought, well, yeah, we're definitely not gonna drive in this, and at this rate, there may be a tree that falls on the house.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I was kind of worried for a second. I was going from.
Was it short-lived?
It was. It was
short-lived?
only about 10-15 minutes, but I was going from either side of the house watching the trees because I just knew one was gonna snap.
Did you see that white chicken, that one that's sitting up there? It was just like face to face with it staring.
Was it?
It
That's
was like
weird.
right in its face. See, watch it.
That's
Now
weird.
It's preening, but it was just looking straight eye to eye.
Chicken showdown.
I guess.
Stare down.
I guess so. Man, that little breeze feels nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a sign of a storm coming, though.
Probably.
All right. Well,
Look, they were doing that again.
Were
She was
they?
beak to beak
I
with her.
told you, it's weird.
I think that's that white skinny one that's been sitting so long. She's probably off in the head now.
Yeah.
Lacking nutrients.
Drove herself crazy, laying eggs that
Yeah.
won't ever
That
hatch.
won't ever hatch, poor thing. They
Well, she don't know that.
No, they don't know.
Yeah.
Boy, they can put their heads just nearly all
I
the way
know.
around. There's a hawk that sometimes is referred to as a gimbal.
Yeah.
Gimbal
It's
headed
because
hawk.
of that.
Yeah, and they had their arm and the way like they moved their arm, but it was not moving.
Mm-hmm.
The person's arm was moving, but the head moved, and it's like the head just went, because it's like head is almost like on a gimbal.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. Did you see that video that Dad had of all those hawks? I think
so. He
those were
didn't
hawks.
show
It
me.
was somewhere. I mean, it just in town while they were working.
Oh, he took
And it was a
Yeah,
bunch
no,
of them
he didn't.
together, and I was like, this
didn't
is
show
not
it
a
to me.
migration time. Why? And I looked it up, and it said something about air currents,
No, he
which
didn't
we've
show
had a
me.
lot of odd weather this year, so maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, you should have called me. I would have drove there. They might have been gone by the time I got
Yeah.
there, but that would be so cool. That's gross.
And chickens are nasty.
We're all just in the corner trying to mess with that one.
She's like the queen bee, ain't she?
Yeah.
I can't believe Clover's being quiet.
I know, she's never quiet. She's really one of the prettiest
she's
chickens.
beautiful.
She pretty much is the prettiest one.
Yeah, she's definitely the prettiest one.
Look how blue on the side her feathers look.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that kitten?
Yes, I do.
It's like it blended with her for a second, and I'm like, am I seeing her or seeing outside the cage?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a wild kitten. That must be the ones Katie seen in the driveway.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Unless there's another one that looks like that. That's the one I've seen. I've seen the mama, but I've seen the daddy, and he's huge. Big old
And they're
guy.
just feral cats.
I guess. I've seen that one around Paws. I've seen that one. It was coming up like by whose ever car was parked at the top. Does it see us?
No. Alright, we gotta go in. And if we have time, we might pick some blackberries, but I guess we better go in and evaluate what needs to be done next.
I still have to go to the post office for Dad, but
Oh,
I'm
gosh,
hoping.
yeah, let's go do that. We gotta do cookbooks.
But I'm hoping I can coordinate that with Katie.
Okay. Alright, let's go.